Welcome into the Tuesday Best Bet Show. I am your host, G-Stack George, and I'm excited to be here on an amazing busy news day. Flup, I was prepping for this show, and that's my co-host, Christopher Dierkes. Flup, no lied.
Yep.
Head of trading at Novig, top-down specialist, injury
news genius as well.
I'm hoping you're a trade expert too today, so we can talk about some of the trades at the start of the show. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. I'm excited. The Jets, I think we're Super Bowl bound. We've got some optimism. We got like dead weight off of our team. We don't need them anymore. So it's good.
I like it. The rebuild has started, and we'll get into all of that. Please drop some comments, what you thought of the trade deadline, any of your favorite bets today. We'll get into all of it. Also, do me a favor. I don't do a good enough job. Please hit the like button. Subscribe if you're not already doing so. And if you get any value out of this show, please share it amongst friends. It helps us out, get us out in front of more eyeballs. And all in all, it really gives us a chance to grow the hammer and the channel. And today was quite an interesting day. We'll spend a few minutes to talk about the trades just because before we get into it, a lot of these things will affect how we view today's games and long-term outlooks. I guess the team of the day, Flup, was the New York Jets. First, they trade Sauce Gardner to the Colts for Adonai Mitchell and 2 first-round picks. On the surface, it feels like an overpay for the Colts. I get it, though. Like, you want the Sauce Gardner, Charvarius Ward, and Kenny Moore in the playoffs in the secondary, and you're going for it this year. But, man, I love the move for the Jets here, just loading up on extra picks here.
Yeah, it makes sense. I think the next 2 years of QB classes in the draft is going to be pretty strong. So it gives us a nice opportunity to bank one of them. I mean, with us sucking so much and us having potential picks to move and maneuver, if we wanted to make a big offer to move up, we need a quarterback. And 2 firsts and Adonai Mitchell for Sauce Gardner feels like overpay. What is he worth? Mitchell, like maybe a 5th or a 6th, and just I don't know if Sauce is worth even 2 firsts at this point. At $30 million a year, it's not like you're getting him on a rookie deal. Seems like a really good deal. I understand from the Colts, but I saw Rob commented and I was joking about it. I don't think you should be in win now mode when you have Daniel Jones as your quarterback. If they had a quarterback like at least like Jared Goff level, I would understand it. But Daniel Jones is not even close to that. So what are we doing here?
There's no pivot point, too. You give out your next 2 first-round picks. You don't just push it in for this year. The next 2 years, you better hope he's the guy. It's kind of interesting when you heard the insiders talk about who was being shopped for the Jets. Quinnen Williams was a known thing. Sauce was not, which tells me the Colts just kind of like had to really blow the Jets' socks off for them to even consider it, considering they weren't really shopping him. The other trade was the Jets sent Quinnen Williams to the Cowboys for a 2nd-round pick this year, 1st-round pick in 2027, and Mozzie Smith. We'll talk about the Dallas end of it, but quickly, the Jets now have 2 first-round picks in 2026, 2 second-round picks, and then in 2027, which is going to be a really good draft, 3 first-round picks, and they have their own 2nd-round pick as well. They have so many assets.
I thought this trade was a little bit fairer. Yes, I think Sauce is a better player per position. Like positionally, is a better player than Quinnen Williams. Like Sauce, I would make the argument that he's the 2nd or 3rd best corner, only behind maybe Pat Surtain. And whereas Quinnen is probably somewhere around like the 8th, 7th or 8th best defensive tackle, something like that. But I think Quinnen is a much more valuable player and should have been valued higher. Especially considering Quinnen is on a pretty decent contract in relation to some other guys. So I thought that was a fair deal for Quinnen. I think it was a little favorable towards the Jets, but nothing like a massive overpay or underpay or anything like that. So honestly, I think it was a good deal for the Cowboys too. But my question would be, why did you trade Micah Parsons if you're going to do this?
Yeah, I think the totality now is basically they gave out Micah Parsons, Mozzie Smith in a 2nd-round pick, and they get back Quinnen Williams, Kenny Clark, and a 1st-round pick. I don't like the trade for Dallas. The fact that they lost last night.
Wait, Jordan. Do you not like the trade because I think you're conflating the two. Like Micah Parsons' trade was very bad in my opinion. This one doesn't seem that bad. Or are you saying?
I don't know that a 3-win team should be trading first and second round pick to push in for a defensive tackle. Jerry loves a headline. In isolation, I don't like to trade. In the totality of it, I don't like to trade. The fact that their record is 3-5-1, I don't like to trade. Like I don't know what Dallas is doing, to be honest. I think the Jets were huge winners of the day. Obviously loaded up on picks. A couple other things. The Seahawks I thought did good business. Traded away a 4th and a 5th round pick for Rashid Shaheed. All of a sudden, they got weapons now, right? They started to look good on Sunday with Torrey Horton and Elijah Arroyo. I don't think too much of Cooper Kupp, but Rashid Shaheed and JSN as your top 2 receivers, pretty good piece of business. And then I thought that the Titans, I didn't like the move for, not the Titans, the Jags, the move for Jacoby Myers for a 4th and a 6th for an expiring contract. They're clearly now desperate because they have to justify the Travis Hunter deal because they don't have their 1st round pick, and it's going to belong to Cleveland. They do not want to send a top 10 pick to Cleveland. And that's the problem. When you start throwing good money after bad money, you got a problem. And then I thought one of the more underrated deals yesterday, Draymond Jones to the Ravens from the Titans, a 5th round pick, a nice pass rusher, could turn into a 4th. And then the Eagles acquired Jalen Phillips for a 3rd round pick.
That was insane. Like, why is Howie, like, how does he do this? Like, maybe my conception of Jalen Phillips is way off here, but I thought he was closer to a 2nd or even, a little bit more than that. Maybe I was just way off base.
He's got an injury history and not having the best year, but like, again, he'll be sought out as a free agent if the Eagles don't end up re-signing him. So they'll probably even get a compensatory pick back potentially.
It's just insane. It's just like I don't get it. It just like I don't know how he does it every time.
You know what I don't get is Chosen brought it up. I don't really understand the Jets not trading away more. To be honest, yes, I'm surprised that Breece Hall survived.
Did you hear like the Chiefs offered a 4th and they held firm at a 3rd? I mean, I understand, but like. Unfortunately, Breece's value is going to be declining every year as he gets more mileage, and now you've got to pay him. Like Breece on a rookie deal is good. Breece, when you're paying him what, 15 a year, 14 a year, not that good anymore.
Yeah, I don't know what the value would have been, but I wanted to see Breece Hall on the Chiefs. But nevertheless, the Jets have started another rebuild, and if you have it your way, I bet you want a different coach to oversee.
Yes, please. Get Brian Flores, please. God, do whatever it takes. Send Aaron Glenn packing. Let's get a real genius, Brian Flores. We need him. And let's pull in Mike McDaniels when he eventually leaves your Dolphins, and we'll take him as offensive coordinator.
Yeah, Chosen brings up a good point. Breece Hall didn't want to be there, so we'll be interested to see what the locker room thinks of what transpired. All right, that being said, let's get into our regular show. And as always, we like to take a recap of last week's results. And Chris, you took a shot at Clive. You said not on my show, and Clive and you were on opposite sides. He came out the winner on the Atlanta on the single hammer. He finished 1-2 last week. You got your first bagel week, 0-3. I thought maybe the injury news went to your head. You didn't prepare as hard. G-Stack just...
This is ridiculous. I just want to point out, Baltimore and Miami closed 51-51.5.
Yeah.
I think Packers closed like 13.75, I think, in some... Like, I don't know if I saw 14, but it was like 13.5 juice in some places. And if we go... What did the... I know there was some late money on New England. Okay, New England closed at like 5.5 on Penny, and I got a cheap 5. Like that wasn't CLV there, but like it wasn't that bad.
The mistake was, the mistake was you had the Rams penciled in. I remember, and you made the like last minute switch. I think you just wanted the big dick Cleve a little bit.
I did,
and it backfired. I got the 2-1, the only winning record on either Tuesday or Thursday show. 14-10 of the season. We are now 33-30, 1.8% ROI. All right, let's have a bounce back and let's start off with the Thursday nighter, Las Vegas and Denver. And Las Vegas obviously was part of the injury the trade deadline today, giving away Jacoby Myers. Right now, it's 9.5 minus 105 at FanDuel. Total is 42.5, shaded 112 to the under. Let's start off, Flip. After the Jacoby trade, we got a little bit of money back on Denver, not too much. What was more interesting is when we got the injury report on Monday, on yesterday, the Denver Broncos, they didn't have both corners practicing, Patrick Surtain or Riley Moss. Their starting safety, Brandon Jones, didn't practice. Their backup safety, PJ Locke, didn't practice. And 3 defensive linemen were practicing in limited fashion. So we saw some over money come in. Are you, if a lot of these defenders get ruled out, do you think the 42.5 will not be enough? Do you think there's a chance this thing climbs to 43.5, 44?
No, I don't. I think people really respect Denver's defense here a lot, and I think that's going to keep the total down, especially with Bo Nix's quarterback being not good. I think Denver is just going to be almost a permanent under team. 42.5 isn't like that low for like the style, especially the Raiders. They want to run the ball a lot. I just unless there's a ton of injuries, I don't see this going lower. Or sorry, going higher.
Okay, I think a couple of interesting things. Right now, the Broncos have the 3rd best pressure rate in the NFL. They've generated 40 sacks. They're on pace for 75 sacks this year. Jesus. Unbelievable. My other favorite stat is a flip. They've only given up 9 sacks, so like they've dominated trench play this year. The Raiders do really bad in the red zone. Right now, only 45% of their red zone trips get converted into touchdowns, which is the 4th lowest in the NFL. And Denver has the number 1 red zone defense in the NFL. So this is what worries me about the total. Now, Bowers is back and Surtain is out, so that might change it a bit. But until I see some of the injury clarity on Denver, and the fact is I don't like Denver's passing attack. Bo Nix in the passing attack, 30th in dropback success rate. They want to run the ball, and that happens to be what the Raiders do at least decently. And the Raiders' offense is so much better than Brock Bowers. I have not done anything yet with this, but I'd be interested in some Raiders at 9.5s. We'll leave it at that if you don't have a play on it. But listen, some people might want to get involved in the touchdown market, and FanDuel's making Week 10 even bigger with a chance to win a share of $2 million in bonus bets this Thursday night. That's right, $2 million. Here's how it works. Opt in and place an anytime touchdown bet. Use your profit boost, and if the player you pick scores either the first or the last touchdown of the game, you'll earn a share of $2 million in bonus bets, $1 million for each touchdown. Flip, I want you to right now, as I'm finishing this ad read, you go find me a touchdown score, okay? That's your challenge I'm giving to you right now. Let's see how you can pull off in the minute that you have left. It's just one more reason to bet on the NFL with FanDuel. So whether you got a feeling about that opening drive or you're banking on a clutch finish, now's the time to get in the game. Visit FanDuel.com/forwardprogress to download the app today and get started. FanDuel is an official sportsbook partner of the NFL, must be 21 plus and present in select states. For Kansas, in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, 19 and physically located in Ontario, 18 and present in DC, Kentucky, or Wyoming. Opt-in, must apply profit boost token on select market. Prize pool to be split equally among all eligible participants who made the correct first or last touchdown pick. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bet, which expires 21 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/TAT in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York. Call Connects Ontario at 1-866-531-2600 or visit connectsontario.ca. Okay, Flip, I tasked you with finding a touchdown score, and here's the truth. I do the Thursday Night Football watch-alongs, and I don't do too well, so I'm hoping you're going to give me some gold. Did you find anything?
Yes. Brock Bowers, absolute lock, especially with no Pat Surtain. That's a lock.
Chalk lock, eh?
Yes, chalk lock. And then I was thinking about Bo Nix. I think I could totally see them getting in the goal line stand and doing, a little rollout and just him scrambling for it. He loves using those legs. It's the only thing he can do. He can't pass. So
Maybe I get a little wild and take a defensive touchdown. It feels like this could be a weird game between the two of them. All right, let's move on to the game. We get another early treat. I think this time in Germany, Atlanta versus Indian. Do you like these 9:00 Eastern time games?
I do.
I do too. I do. It's something to do while I'm doing my early morning prep. It's nice to break it up and take one game out of the rotation. That log jam at 1:00, depending on where you're watching from. So Indianapolis right now -6.5, -105. Totals 48.5. Shaded 115 to the under. Obviously, the Colts trade for Sauce Gardner, which shoots the line back from. We saw some 5.5s and it went back to 6.5 in market. A lot of respect for Sauce. Do you think that's the right move?
No, and not because I think Sauce is bad, because I think he has little time to really do anything. Honestly, I'll ask you, put it back to you, George, for a second here. What kind of defensive schemes do they play? A lot of zone or man coverage? I actually do not know this. Maybe I shouldn't know this off the top of my head.
Well, the thing is, Sauce fits in with both, but listen, he's coming off an injury, short term to work the thing. I think it's going to be a limited package, so that's why I thought maybe the point.
Right.
Plus, he's got to worry about, first of all, moving to Indy. Also, flying out internationally. It feels like this was a tough week to bring him in.
Yeah, no. Look, I think he's probably worth close to a point, but 3 weeks from now, for this first week, especially it's Tuesday. Will he even be able to practice with them till tomorrow? Then he's got to travel across the country to go play with them. How impactful is he going to be? The impact on the Jets should be much more worse than it is in favor of the Colts here.
The Falcons are working through some O-line injuries. Matthew Bergeron and Chris Lidstrom, both their guards, got hurt in the game and left the game. It'll be interesting to see what happens. I think this is a huge mismatch where the Colts run the ball very, very well. Indy is second in rush success rate. Atlanta's 29th in defensive rush success rate. Not a good run-stop team. And last week, New England couldn't expose that because they're one of the worst rushing teams in football. Part of that manifests in the red zone too, where like Indy, obviously, Jonathan Taylor's got all the touchdowns. No team has been in the red zone more than Indy this year, and they're the fifth best at converting those into touchdowns 70% of the time. Atlanta is the second worst red zone defense, allowing teams to score 70 touchdowns because, again, Atlanta can't stop the run. Atlanta might find an opportunity to run the ball, though. They're middle of the pack in rush success rate, and Indy is bottom 10 in defensive rush success rate. I'll be curious what happens. Drake London, obviously, after a monster game, will be key if they can defend him. This is a game where there's like a clear contrast. In my number says I'm supposed to bet Atlanta, and the matchup disadvantages are pretty drastic. I don't know how Atlanta is going to stop Indy's offense that predicates on the run game. So for me, it's where I have a mismatch and I stay off plays like this. Let's move on to Jacksonville and Houston. Right now, Jacksonville is dogs. Houston is a 1.5 point favorites, -104. Totals 38.5. And listen, I want to pull up a graphic before we get into the Houston aspect of it, because they obviously made a trade today for a receiver. Travis Hunter's on the IR, and the truth is Brian Thomas Jr. has been bad. Targets per game, tied for 24th. Receptions per game, 62nd. He only converts half of his targets into catches, which is 167th in the NFL. Catchable targets, 75% of them. He leads the league in drops. EPA per target is 0. He's 137th. It has been bad throwing to Brian Thomas. The real key in this, and I pulled off this information from FTN. Listen, I love digging through there, and I got another great graphic which is going to come into play later on. But if you want to take a deep dive into stats and get yourself a little bit of an edge, go to ftnfantasy.com. Use Hammer10 for 10% off. Get the Stats Pro package, Stats Go package, either one. There will be value in both. You can click the link in the description or just go to ftnfantasy.com. But let's start off with the news. It's CJ Stroud, concussion, and look bad. He fenced a little. And I don't know, I never want to make a judgment call on a concussion. So it's truly, who knows? It's a 50-50. Well, where's your best guess for where the line goes if he's in or out?
I think when I asked you before the show, I was like, what do we know more about CJ Stroud? This line tells me, at least in my opinion, that they think it's likely that he's in. I mean, I don't see any universe where Houston is favored without CJ Stroud. I would be beyond shocked. Um, I think the question is, I'm going to be way off base here. So I think the question is basically, does this get, are the Jags like, do they get to like -3? I don't think they do. I think this becomes like Jags minus like 2.5, maybe 2 without him. And this is probably like maybe Houston -3, 2.75.
It was 3 on the look ahead. Now that being said, obviously the Brian Thomas Jr. and Tim Patrick injuries and De'Ami Brown weren't factored in.
Right.
To me, it's interesting. Jacksonville is 3rd in rush EPA and 3rd in rush success rate. But if they can't get the run going, whenever they play a good defense, and Houston is a good defense, it forces Lawrence to have to throw with a potential lack of weapons against the #1 defense in drop back EPA. So I think there's trouble. I want to see where Devin Lloyd is. He's missed the past 2 weeks. He's a very important part to the Jags defense. Ultimately, Flip, here's where I think I land on this. I'm prepared to bet Houston once the line moves either direction. So if I get the Stroud, obviously if Stroud's in, I hope to beat the news and beat the line, but I'm still going to be comfortable at 3. And then I would take Houston at plus money on the money line if Davis Mills is ruled in and it moves to Jacksonville. I feel very strongly about this Houston advantage specifically. Let's move on. Before we do, please, if you haven't done it yet, smash the like button. Do it for myself and Flup, who are working hard on a very busy news day. It was very hard to put together this show. Let's go with New York Giants and Chicago Bears right now. Chicago's -3.5, -108. Total's 48.5, -115 to the under. And if you don't mind, I'd like to start because I have a play on this, and I have been fading the New York Giants. I faded them last week with my triple hammer. Here's what worries me. Maybe there's going to be some positive injury news for the Giants in their secondary with Paulson Adebo and Cordell Flott and Javon Holland. But they also thin right now at O-line. They lost John Michael Smith in game. Jermaine Illuminor didn't play last week. Chicago's 9th in both rush EPA and success rate. They run the ball very well. And Giants are dead last in both categories. Bears are also 10th in dropback EPA and 23rd in dropback success rate. So like they generate more explosives than they are methodical. In fact, they're not very methodical. But that's how you've been able to beat the Giants attack, who's like middle of the pack in defensive dropback success rate, but bottom 11 in defensive dropback EPA. The Bears' pass defense is bad. They're like 29th in defensive dropback success rate. But to me, this is truly a similar handicap to the Bengals game, where this is a game where last week I took the Bears as a single hammer and I faded the Giants for a triple hammer. So I think I'm a touch higher on market than Chicago and a touch lower on the Giants in market. I actually make this line closer to 5.5, and I'm going to make Chicago my double hammer -3.5, -108. Flup, your thoughts on this market? Do you think there's a chance we get 3s, or do you think there's a chance it gets out further for Chicago?
When in these spots, I typically like to see where the early money is, and there hasn't really been any. So your guess here is probably as good as mine. I guess there's been a little bit, like Chris moved to a week 4, but then bought back a little bit on the Giants. So I think it kind of just stays firm at around 3.5, and maybe we see some 4s pop up. But I do not think this is going to 3. 3 would be a huge move.
Yeah, and also 3 would there'd be a lot of interest in Chicago at 3.
Yeah.
Let's move on to Baltimore, Minnesota, which is actually quite interesting the way the line is moved. Right now, Baltimore is -4.5, -105. Total's 47.5, -120 to the over. The injuries to watch, Baltimore is actually fairly healthy. For the Vikings, Aaron Jones is the question mark, and the Vikings seem to be optimistic that he could go. So far, we've seen the early money has been Baltimore. Do you think there's going to be a buy point where people get interested in Minnesota, or do you think people have been waiting to bet on Baltimore again?
I think people have been waiting to bet on Baltimore. Lamar looks good. He's cooking. Even though the Ravens are 3-5, they're obviously not out of the playoffs, and they're in fact favored to win their division. The early money has come completely in on Baltimore. I think this is a exact spot where this gets. It really gets how far does it go? I think this could go to 5, maybe even. I mean, 5 is kind of a dead number. I don't think this gets to 6, but I think we'll see some more Baltimore money.
It's quite interesting. I'm going to say 2 things. Remember last week I was telling you how my numbers showed Minnesota was a play, and I ultimately didn't do it because I didn't know what JJ McCarthy was. But we acknowledged it was a high variance game where it's like could be Detroit blowout or even Minnesota win. So we got that version of it. The 2 things I will say is, listen, the Vikings defense looked a lot better last week with Van Ginkel back. Vikings defense, 30% pressure rate. They do 40% blitz rate, the second most blitz heavy team in the league. Lamar is a killer against blitz. 74% completion percentage, 9.1 yards per attempt, 8 touchdowns to 1 pick. Success rate 60% against the blitz, 0.44 EPA per play. So he's not only like being accurate with it, he's also not afraid to take some deep shots. I will say this, the Ravens improving defense is, I think, under talked about. First 5 weeks, Flip, when they had all those injuries, and you remember it culminated in the Houston game, 30th in defensive EPA and 29th in defensive success rate. Since then, they got a lot of their pieces back. 7th in defensive EPA, 13th in defensive success rate, which is kind of where we thought it'd be at the beginning of the season. And that wasn't against bad offenses. That was against the Rams, Bears, and Dolphins. Some solid and some really good offenses. I think the Rams is one of the best in the NFL. I wish I could have a better number. I don't want to bet it at 4.5. I think if somebody got the early 3.5s that the market was showing, I thought that was good price. I like Ravens anything under 4, and I think also at 4 it's a bet. Let's move on to Cleveland and Jets. Right now, Cleveland is 2.5 point favorites at FanDuel, and I believe that's minus 108. Total is it is 108. Total is 37.5, shade of 115 to the over. Let's start off with you, Flip. Obviously, the big news is the Jets trade away Sauce Gardner and Quinnen Williams, and you got to play in this game.
Yep. I think I like these kind of spots because I think this is almost like a stone opener because no one knows how to price the Jets without these specific teams, the specific players, and also what it does to a locker room. Do they just give up? Clearly, they're tanking. Brees wanted out of there. They were shopping Brees. Is he mad? Et cetera, et cetera. This is where you can get a team complete implosion. So I'm going to be taking the steam and one of the best numbers in the market right now with Cleveland minus 2.5 and make it my hammer, my triple hammer. I wish that we had done this show like 3 hours ago because I was trying to bet it. As soon as I saw the first trade, I was trying to hammer it in because I figured there would be more and they would give up. And I think we're going to just see constant Cleveland money here. And if Judah was here, I know Judah would be giving out an alt. So I would also be wanting to play an alt here. I think Cleveland minus like 9.5 at like, I don't know what you can get at there is a great play here because this is just a spot, in my opinion, where the Jets can be completely given up and you can get a big tail outcome.
You know what I wanted to ask you about? The over took money. It went from 36.5 to 37.5, 38s in some places. And I don't know that I agree with it. I get that you give up 2 of your best defenders, but like Cleveland is not a good offense and they're not very hard to defend because Quinton Judkins is the offense. I don't know.
Well, George, it would be anything right there. Quinnen Williams is one of the best run stoppers, in the game. So they're going to be able to run on him a little bit more.
I just worry about if the Jets will move the ball because already one thing that they want to do is run, and Cleveland is literally number 1 in defending the run. So if the Jets are not going to put up their points, are we really thinking Dylan Gabriel's just going to suddenly light up the Jets? I think the Jets defense has been a little bit miscued, like 26th in defensive EPA per play, 8th in defensive success rate. They haven't had the turnovers, but I don't know that they go from being like a top 10 defense in success rate. Not that I'm saying they're a top 10 defense. So are they all of a sudden Cleveland with Dylan Gabriel is going to light them up? I don't know. I might be interested in buying back at 38. I haven't done it yet, but I'm considering. Some people like Browns in here. Some people like the Jets. It's kind of interesting. This is gonna be like you said, one of those games with I think you have to look at the tail outcomes possibly. New Orleans, Carolina. Let's move on. Carolina 5.5 minus 108, 39.5, shaded 112 to the over. New Orleans obviously get rid of Rashid Shaheed today to Seattle. They also traded Trevor Penning to the Chargers. They got a 6th round pick, basically speculation. Not that he's good, but we learned that Talies Fuaga, their first round tackle from last year, is doubtful for this game. The way I'm seeing it is this, Flop. Carolina is the second worst team in generating pressures. They do so on only 14% of opposing teams' dropbacks. New Orleans is also the second worst red zone offense, only converting 41% of their trips with touchdowns because they can't run the ball. And that happens to be what like the Panthers do really good. First of all, defensively, they're like top 5 in like defensive rush. And then also like they don't allow teams to convert touchdowns. You saw it with Green Bay, who kept going to the red zone and it kept getting stopped. Only 51% of trips against Carolina ends up in touchdowns, 6th best in the NFL. What Carolina does well is run the ball, but the Saints don't have a bad run defense, 12th in defensive rush EPA. This is the biggest favorites Carolina have been in the Dave Canales era. And are we sure we like them to cover margin? Like FanDuel's best price in market, if you are interested in if you like the over. I wish I could have grabbed an under, but right now there's better prices in market.
All right. You know what? I was talking. I'm gonna pivot. I want to give me the Panthers best. I'll make that my single hammer.
Single hammer. Carolina minus 5.5, minus 108. So let's not get ahead of ourselves here, but are we gonna see a Carolina sneak into a survivor for you, my friend?
Possibly, yes. That could definitely happen. But man, like I think people have a hesitancy to like make these really shitty teams and bad teams like the Panthers big favorites. But I mean, the Saints are awful. Tyler Shutt
was bad. You wanted to fade him last week and you chose not to. You're like, this is the week I'm going to do it.
Yeah. Now he'll come out and throw 3 touchdowns and 300 yards and I'll look like an idiot. But he's clearly a downgrade over Spencer Rattler. They're just trying to see what they have. Second week, maybe he's improves a little bit, but this is just like the Saints are just an all-time bad team right now. And they're basically saying the Panthers are only a few points better than them. I don't see it. Give me the Panthers here.
Yeah, let me see what I make the line. I make the line 6.25. Flip, I'm starting to sense a trend. You're just betting against all the teams that have traded away picks today, trade away players.
I forgot to mention Rashid. Like Rashid is like was a decent part of their offense too. So yeah, it's just again, what are they going to do? I just don't see how they're going to generate any offense out there. The under might be a good look too. If if you can get a 40 in some spots, like
I wanted to give it out. I said it, but FanDuel has the best number if you want it over.
Exactly.
So could not do it. Let's move on to Buffalo and Miami. Buffalo is 9.5 point favorites, minus 110. Total is 49.5, shaded 120 to the over. Let's start with you, Flup, because you have a play, but let me just set the table really quickly. Miami traded Jalen Phillips for a 3rd round pick to the Philadelphia Eagles. We also don't know the status of Chop Robinson, who was concussed, but that was on Thursday. So they may only have 1 pass rusher. Things that scare me, the Bills passing attack is against a Miami pass defense, which is 30th in defensive dropback EPA and 31st in defensive dropback success rate. So Miami gets torched through the air. Maybe Miami runs the ball a bit. That's the only thing they do well on offense. But the problem is, if Josh Allen keeps putting up scores, eventually you're going to have to throw as well. Bills defense also has looked good post-bye week against Carolina and the Chiefs last week. Their first-round rookie Maxwell Hairston added a nice element, I thought. I'm struggling to see where Miami comes up with stops here, and you're kind of thinking the same way, right?
Yeah. So last week I tried to back Josh Allen Jr. and Drake May, and now I'm trying to back the real Josh Allen. I'm gonna give me the Buffalo Bills here -9.5. It's one of the better numbers in the market, and I just I think like you said, Miami's gonna have a difficult time moving the ball, and Josh Allen has been cooking. He's the MVP favorite for a reason this year. I think they're going to be able to run all over and dominate Miami here, and winning with margin should be pretty easy for them. I know I said earlier on a different show that Buffalo struggles to win with margin. This is a little bit different. It's only a 2-score game. Before it was a little bit more than that, and I think I just think they're going to be able to get it done. Honestly, especially with how good Josh Allen has been and how like wishy-washy Tua has been.
I considered this play. Didn't make my card. Ultimately, was like the second or third last cut that I made. You did it. You faded all three teams that traded away players. I give you credit. You saw an angle and you said, "Forget it. The market has not priced this well enough." Let's move on to New England and Tampa Bay. Your two favorite quarterbacks, unless Josh Allen's your new crush. I don't know. You strike me as a guy who just keeps, once they play bad, you're like, I'm done. I'm going on to something better. New England at Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is 2.5-point favorites, -110. Totals 48.5, shaded 118 to the under. And obviously, this is the Baker versus Drake May show. A couple things injury-wise. Ramondre Stevenson obviously didn't play last week. Kayshon Boutte announced on his Discord that his groin is hurting and he might miss this week, which is insane to break news like that on the Discord. Christian Gonzalez also left the game, and Christian Ellis, so a few injuries on the Patriots defense. Bucks are coming out.
Gonzalez is big, obviously.
Huge. We still don't know what's going on with Chris Godwin or Bucky Irving, or there's a couple things. Too many injuries and not enough info right now for my liking. Like, Bucks offense didn't look good against the Detroit secondary with no corners, and Baker was clearly working through some injuries the last couple of weeks. Is he healthier off a bye week? They're missing Bucky Irving, especially in the red zone. They're only converting 50% of their trips to touchdowns, which is bottom 5 in the league, which is interesting because the Patriots are the worst red zone defense in football. They give up touchdowns on 75% of opposing teams' trips. Something has to give here. I think they need Bucky Irving back. Listen, both top 5 run defenses, both bottom 7 at running the ball. I think this is going to be a pass funnel game. I expect a ton of passing. I like the over. The over was like my last cut before the show. I'd also be interested in New England if a 3 popped up. I guess my question to you is, do you think that 3 pops up, or do you think there's no way people will be all over New England if they get a chance?
I think people will be all over them unless like all those injuries become like more pronounced and serious. I guess to be fair, Bucks are off a bye, so that is something. But these two teams seem pretty even-ish to me, and I don't think home field plus a bye is enough to push this to a solid 3. I actually give the slight edge to the Patriots here, so I just don't in a neutral turf. So in neutral field rather. So yeah, and like you pointed out, this is clearly like a battle of 2 elite quarterbacks. I still like them both. I joke that they're dead to me, but I like Drake May a lot. I like Baker Mayfield a lot. I think Baker is the slightly better quarterback here, but Drake May's been playing very, very well and probably has a better season than Baker this year. But I still think Baker is the better quarterback going forward. But I think the Patriots team is a little bit better overall, especially with a bunch of the injuries that the Bucks have. If Gonzalez is confirmed out, is he confirmed out, or is it?
No, we're still waiting. That's why there's just too many questions.
Right. Yeah,
this would be a good game to be doing on a Thursday where you have more clarity.
Right. If he's confirmed out, maybe we get to a 3, but I think I would see this more of like a -3, -05, or -3 plus 100. Not a -3, -10. Like I think those would get bought immediately.
All right. Kayshon Boutte dropped injury news in his Discord. I'm not sure if you've heard, but we also have a Discord here at the Hammer Betting Network. We have over 1,100 members. We're almost 1,200. And we talk about the games. Rob gives out his fair prices on primetime touchdown scores. You can chat directly with any creator except Flup. I never see him in there. Hopefully we can guilt him into going. Alex gives out some Saturday NHL bets. I don't think I've seen XS in there either. XS, that breaks my heart. I wish I'd see you in the Discord. If you want to join right now, discord.gg/hammer. And maybe we'll break news about like which host is unavailable. Like Keishon Booty said he might not be available this week. Okay, let's move on, Flip, because we got some controversy before we went onto the show. And something we've been discussing in our group chats internally, and we'll be very careful on what we say, and we don't want to give out too much information. But Arizona at Seattle. Seattle is a 6.5 point favorite, 115. Total is 45.5 shaded, 115 to the over. I might want to make a change there. Okay, let's get into it. I brought up a graphic because I want to see what's the difference between Kyler Murray and Jacoby Brissett at it's pretty much this EPA per drop back. Brissett's better. Passing success rate even, but turnover worthy plays, Brissett doesn't make them. Way more deep balls, yards per attempt, deep throw rate, 16% of his throws, which is third best in the NFL. And he doesn't take bad sacks like Kyler. In fact, none of the sacks this year have been his fault. We got news, Flup, that Kyler Murray's injury now apparently is a 4 to 8 week thing. Even though he's practiced it 3 weeks in a row in limited fashion and a bye week, I'm going to tell you something. The term soft benching has gone around way too much, and yet this is the one time it probably is true. And I want to hear from everybody in the comments if you think Kyler's being soft bench because Brissett's starting this week. It feels like they are so done with Kyler.
Rob's tweet is so accurate. I'll take things that didn't happen for $1,000.
Yeah,
that is completely accurate. Okay, I mean, obviously we don't know, but come on, like I just don't see. Jacoby's been playing very well. Kyler hasn't. They've been doing good, and all of a sudden, Kyler, who's very close, now has a lot longer injury. No, they want to. I think they're going to try to trade Kyler. Can they even trade him for anything decent? Like at this point?
I'm very curious what his potential market is. I think he's right now like the 12th highest paid quarterback. I'm curious if it's a team that thinks they're close but doesn't have the picks to draft one. That seems to be the market but the problem is, Flip, his work ethic sucks. He's not improving. There's aspects that I just think, is he a leader of your team? I don't know that I want to trade for him at quarterback, but I think the comments agree. This is a hard bench, not just a soft bench. Chosen says it's pretty clear that they're done with him, and they found the excuse. It feels like now they're just using excuses. Let's actually break down the matchup though, Flip. Seattle's got the 4th best pressure rate. Arizona's given up the 5th most sacks. Feels like a bad recipe. Arizona bottom 6 in pressure rate. Seattle's given up the fewest sacks in the NFL at 9. Like complete domination on in the trenches. Neither team runs the ball well, and both like strength of defense is the run defense. I expect more passing in the game. Seattle's 2nd in drop back EPA. Arizona's 13th. Listen, I'm going to be honest with you. I wanted to give away 45.5 minus 105 was the price. And it's gone up to 45.5 minus 115 on the Brissett news. That's what the markets think. They now think Brissett's the better quarterback.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy to say that Brissett is the better quarterback than Kyler Murray. I never thought I would say this thing, but it unfortunately looks true at this stage, and I don't know what's going to happen.
All right, I'm not going to give this out as my single hammer anymore. I'm going to make a switch here, and I hope it doesn't burn me. I was very price sensitive on it at 45.5. It was already where I didn't want to be, but let's pass on that. Let's move on to the Rams at San Fran. In fact, I was asking Rob about pricing on an alt versus it because it was that razor thin. And Rob gave me some info which is now I'm changing my mind. Let's move on to Rams and San Fran. Rams minus 3.5, minus 115. Total is 50.5. Looks like it's shaded 115 to the under. I want to start off with this flip. San Fran is the worst at generating pressure. 10% of opposing team dropbacks, and now they just lost another D lineman in Mikael Williams. Okay, so San Fran's defense has been devastated by injuries, but I don't think we know just how bad yet it is because they've played Atlanta, Houston, and the Giants the last 3 weeks. This is the first time we see their new defense with missing a bunch of guys against a truly like elite offense. Rams might be the best offense in the NFL. Second in drop back success rate, first in rush success rate, can kind of kill you any way they want. They're also very good defensively. First in defensive EPA per play and fifth in defensive success rate. This is a game where, like, listen, I hate that this is Tuesday because Puka Nacua left the game. Although it was, from what I heard, is if it wasn't a blowout, he'd be back in the game. Brock Purdy could be back. Shanahan kind of threw the, I don't know if he's close. Pearsall could be back. Bryce Hoff maybe. I wish I had the clarity of a practice report, but the truth is I think this, even if this were to touch 3 briefly, I think there'd be instant Rams action, and I'd be very interested. I'm going to take the LA Rams minus 3.5, minus 110 as my single hammer. And listen, Chosen and Connor, I get it. The number says San Fran is a play for you guys. I don't know that we've seen how bad this defense is, and I think we're going to very, very much see it this week. Flup, your thoughts, I guess, on market once we get injury clarity. What is more likely? Do you think Rams catch money, go to 4, or do you think San Fran it gets down to 3? Or is it which of the two?
I think it's more likely we go to 4.5 than we go to 3, to be honest with you. I mean, first of all, comparing 3.5 to 3 to 3.5 to 4 is night and day. We both know the move 3.5 to 3 is much greater than that. And plus, we've already seen some initial Rams money. So with those two things in mind, I'd be very shocked if we saw I mean, Chris got clicked and Penny got clicked a little bit up there. I mean, even FanDuel opened at 3 minus 18 and then went immediately to 3.5 minus 110. So I would be shocked to see buyback down to 3 with how this market's reacted, unless we get the craziest injury news in favor of San Fran.
Yeah, it's Puka Nacua would be the injury. Chosen says Shanny's still McVay's daddy. Listen, he owned him in that Thursday night when he knocked out people in Survivor. Listen, Connor, Salah's scheme can overcome lack of talent. Here's the thing, though.
Salah is very good.
He is, but they're like literally 10% pressure. That's all they're generating. This Rams team that can run and throw, if you're not generating pressure, he's going to carve you. And then the bad thing is, again, because we saw them against Atlanta, Houston, and the Giants, I don't think we know what the bottom is of this defense. I think, you know how we talk about the Dallas and Cincy defense in the aspect that they can give up anything? I think San Fran has that potential bottom, and maybe this is the week that we see that. But listen, do me a favor. Please like and subscribe. I'm starting to ask for it more, Flip. I think we've earned it. We're working hard here. Yes. It's a 2-man show. We're doing a 3-man job. I think we deserve a little bit of credit. Please do that. Actually, no jokes. It just helps us out in the algorithm. It costs you nothing to like, and it does us a huge favor. And of course, we appreciate you. Let's move on to Detroit at Washington. I love this game, Flip, and I want to lead off. I was talking with Suuma about look aheads before the games started on Sunday. Detroit was 3.5, and I said I really, really like it. And then we obviously got like obliterating news here. Obviously, Jaden Daniels looks like he's out for the season.
Yeah.
We also got the news Terry McLaurin is probably missing this week as well. They lost Luke McCaffrey for the season. They lose Marshawn Lattimore for the season. Now, listen, Detroit's not without their own injuries. They lost the guard Christian Mahogany, the IR, and then Taylor Decker and Penei Sewell left the game. So there's huge questions about what their O-line might look like. But I don't think people have grasped how bad Washington's defense has been this year. Your perception, because I know you haven't looked at the numbers, Flop. What's your perception? No. This is a true experiment here, right?
Okay.
What is your perception of Washington's defense if you had to put a range on them this year?
My perception, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, you're right. I haven't dove deep into the analytics of it. My perception would be they're probably like 20th to
Exactly.
24th.
Yeah. Below average, lower than the middle of the pack, not quite the bottom. They're 27th in defensive EPA per play. They've been bad. Dorrance Armstrong, they don't generate pass rush. They can't stop the pass either. I think the Lions will be able to get whatever they want through the air and on the ground. On the other side of the ball, Detroit has been very good defensively, top 7 in both defensive EPA and success rate. 5th best pressure rate for Detroit, 25% of dropbacks. No Terry McLaurin means there's nothing that scares you. Like Debo Samuel and Jalen Lane is insanely bad for weapons. The one thing Washington has done well this year is run the ball. 7th best rush success rate. The problem is when Daniels is hurt, if Detroit's boat racing them, they're going to have to abandon the run to pass the ball. And we saw it with the Chiefs where they got down early and they couldn't catch up. We saw it with Seattle when they had to abandon the run. Same thing. I see the same thing happen. I actually make this line over 10.5. I make it 11. No Terry McLaurin, Lattimore on IR. Mariota is in. I like the Detroit Lions minus 8.5 as my triple hammer. I'm strongly fading Washington. What are your thoughts? I mean, where does Washington go in market from here with no Jaden Daniels and lack of weapons and obviously a very bad defense?
Yeah, a lot of times in these spots, I think people are scared to overreact sometimes, and
people might see this and say, "Whoa, Washington, 8.5 at home." They might think this is a crazy number,
right?
And I think that's where, like, this is a game where they can act, like they got blown out by the Chiefs, they got blown out by the Seahawks again at home. In other books, they're 9.5. You're getting 8.5 at FanDuel. It's very, very good price.
I agree completely with you. This would have been a good, probably one of my 4th plays or so if But another thing is, I think I saw a tweet from Hitman I thought was very funny and accurate. It's like anytime you're down 4 scores in the 4th quarter, you got to play a franchise quarterback with 7 minutes to go.
Yeah,
like what were they doing? I mean, why would you not just why would you not bench him at that point, especially when he's coming off an injury? Like I understand like playing your guys.
They did it with Dorrance Armstrong too. Like he didn't practice all week, and then they rush him back, I guess, in a revenge game spot against the Cowboys, and he goes out for the year. It's just it's bad. It's bad in my opinion. So I see a comment here. I think you bring up a good point. Lions offense has been underperforming the last month. I give you that, but I would say that they played against the Bucks, Chiefs, and Vikings, who are like literally the 3rd best team in defensive EPA, the 11th best team in defensive EPA, and the 13th best team in defensive EPA. Washington is light years worse than both of these teams, than all 3 of those teams. This just feels like Detroit will be able to get whatever they want. Let's move on. We got some primetime games. Pittsburgh at the Chargers. Right now at FanDuel, it looks like the Chargers are, pull it up. Chargers are -3, -106. Total is 45.5, shaded 115 to the under. I want to read something from the newsletter. I know you read it all the time, Flup, and really enjoy it. Something that Suuma wrote. And he talks about the impact of the Joe Alt injury. He goes, Joe Alt, since the start of 2024, he's missed 322 snaps, and the Chargers offense has fallen off a cliff without him. Their pass DVOA, when he's in and out, is 6th versus 26th. Watch the tape. He goes, it's obvious. When Alt's at left tackle, Herbert plays with confidence. When he's out, protection collapses and the rhythm evaporates. Suuma wrote that in the newsletter. And listen, we do a 3-time-a-week newsletter. Mondays, you get Suma's takeaways, Clive and Rob's early leans, injury reports, Alex's NHL thoughts. Wednesdays, we get the first practice report. We get FTN gives us some good tidbits to put in there. BetStamp gives us some plus EV prop bets. And Fridays, Kirk writes a newsletter really about his experiences in the industry, things that made him better. Tons of good stuff in there. Flop, I guess the story starts with the O-line. Bobby Hart also left for the Chargers. Mekhi Becton didn't play. And the Titans, as soon as Joe Alt went out, started sacking the crap out of Justin Herbert. Pittsburgh's also the 8th best at generating pressure. I worry about the Chargers red zone, which is bottom 5 and only converting half of their trips into touchdowns. And again, you have O-line injuries. It gets tougher to win in the red zone. Steelers defense is also the 7th best, only allowing touchdowns on 53% of teams' trips into the red zone against them. To me, it all comes down to the question, and I guess the answer it's, can the O-line buy Herbert enough time to take advantage of, frankly, a matchup advantage, weapons versus corners. The Chargers defense is also quite good, so I was a little bit tempted by the under. Let me ask you, I haven't done anything with this game yet. We see some 2.5, some 3s, the juice both sides. Does it feel like it's going to be an in-between, or the Steelers have gotten a lot of late money every single week? I'm starting to think this game is going to close under 3. Do you think that is a strong possibility?
Very strong possibility. When Joel is massive, he's one of the best tackles in the game, and losing him, especially when you lost Rashawn Slater at the start of the year, it only compounds it. I know he's been out for the entire season, but you had an elite guy like that you were expecting. You got to scramble a replacement. Now you got to replace Joel. It's very, very brutal, and people love betting against the O-line injuries. Plus, like as you pointed out, people have liked backing Steelers. We've already started to see a little bit of Charger money trickle in. Would not be surprised to see this get to a clean 2.5. Not even a cheap, like a clean 2.5 minus 110. Maybe even like Chargers could be. I wouldn't even be shocked if we saw minus 2.5, minus a 5 pop up later in the week.
Yeah, I tend to think it's going that way. And there's someone who loves Pittsburgh in market with some real influence. They've gotten very good close, especially the money has come in late. So it's somebody who's waiting for limits to go up.
Yeah. If you're waiting for limits to go up in the NFL, you're a big player.
Yeah, 100%. All right, let's move on to the Monday Night Football game. Philly at Green Bay. Green Bay's 2.5 minus 110. 44.5 minus 112 to the under. Let's start off. Okay, Philly's been one of the strangest teams from a numbers standpoint, and I think it created a problem for how people rank them. So I wanted to show you exactly like what I mean. So a lot of it's very high variance stuff. The tush push is clearly a cheat code. So they are the number 1 red zone offense. 85% of the time, Flip, when they get in the red zone, they convert the touchdown. Here's the crazy thing, though. The 3rd fewest trips there, so they're hyper efficient. They're just not very good at getting there. 4th worst in 3rd down conversion rate at just 33%, which is insane. And 5th best at converting 4th downs. So it's almost like they think of it as a 2-play design. To me, there's just too many injuries right now. The AJ Brown didn't practice last week, didn't play. Obviously, they had the bye week, so we don't know what his health will be after that. Saquon Barkley left the game the last time we saw him. Cam Jurgens as well. From the Packers' perspective, Matthew Golden could be out. Obviously, Colby Wooden and Lucas Van Ness. I think Green Bay may have success on the ground. They're 6th in rush success rate. Eagles actually struggle against the run. 28th in defensive rush success rate. So you can run the ball in the Eagles. The Eagles' run game, though, could also have success. Packers are 20th in defensive rush success rate. Like, I lean towards Green Bay. I haven't done anything yet. I might find myself on them, but I truly have not pulled the trigger on anything yet. How are you reading this one in market? Because it's been 2.5, and there's been no interest either way, which leads me to believe that maybe there's some people waiting for Philly positive injury news and hoping that they can catch a 3. Nobody has come in and wanted this Green Bay 2.5 yet, though.
Well, I mean, it did open at like 3 and get bought immediately to Philly, which I think is a tell in itself. It's like clearly someone would buy Philly at 3.
Yeah, I don't think there's any Green Bay interest yet, which makes me – and I still think there's more Philly interest in the woods. Yes. They're trying to wait for a 3 again, potentially, which
yes.
Not come.
And look, sometimes the market is just correct. So, like, maybe this game just closes 2.5 flat for the whole week. I mean, that's happened before. There's not always a right side. It could just be the actual fair number as early on. I don't think we're getting back to 3. That'd be pretty shocking to me. And I don't think we're going to get enough interest on Philly at 2.5 to push this to a 2. So personally, I think I'm just going to stay flat here. And If you could, get both sides at a good price, maybe on an exchange, I don't know, maybe there's some out there, then it would be good.
Are you are you going to give some people a chance at 3 or what, Flap? Is that what you're saying?
No. I was trying to shill Novik for a second as a joke. But no, I think, to me, if you want to play, I think if you want to play Philly, you should probably play now, because I think it's more likely it moves now. And especially, with FanDuel has one of the better numbers for, I mean, I guess not really better numbers, just like an average market number out there. And if you want to play Green Bay, I think I would rather wait.
I'm waiting for injury news. It's interesting in the chat. Some like Packers, some like Eagles. Some people like Packers. This is gonna be I think at least the public will be interested in betting this game. They'll find an edge, and they're both weird teams in that they're high level, they can compete with anybody, and they have an ugly side to them where they can drop the ball. So I think difference of opinions, variance. Let's take a look. We did a heavy lift today, Vlup. We went through all the trades. We broke down every game, and let's do a recap of everything we had, because I took Detroit -8.5, -112 as my triple hammer. You're on Cleveland 2.5 -108. Chicago is my double hammer -3.5 -108. You're on Buffalo -9.5 110. I'm on the Rams -3.5 -110. You're on Carolina -5.5 -108. Flup, we're laying chalk, baby. Six favorites. No interest in any doggy. And I'm not, I tell you something, I don't tend to be a chalky better. I usually have a little bit more on dogs, though it tends to balance out by the end of the year. But I don't know. I'm seeing some underpriced favorites right now, and I'm quite interested. That's it for us, Flup. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Of course.
And listen, thank you to the users in the audience. I appreciate it. We can't do it without you. Chosen, Connor, Steven, Arthur, Ekshesh, anybody who participated in the comments, appreciate you. Thank you for our sponsors, FanDuel. They give us the lines that we use for this. Jacob does a great job producing. Hammer Daily coming up tomorrow at 12 noon. I'm looking forward to it. I wonder if we'll see some of the fallout of all these trades. And listen, good luck with your bets, everybody. Do me a favor, smash the like button, or just drop a 1 in the chat for the algorithm. It helps us out immensely. And have a great rest of your evening.